These files were never meant to be public, but someone reopened them. This is the Dark Bureau. $1 billion disappears in an instant, catching governments and regulators off guard. Officials scramble with emergency meetings and regulatory alarms, but the money has already slipped away, fragmented and disguised, vanishing into a digital maze. This is not a simple heist. The paradox is striking. Blockchain technology, once celebrated for its transparency and traceability, now acts as a cover, creating hidden passages through which criminal wealth moves invisibly and rapidly, leaving law enforcement unable to react in time. The strategies that once worked, shutting down exchanges or chasing high-profile asset seizures, have become ineffective as illicit funds evolve, multiplying and redirecting through systems designed to outpace regulators. The true enablers are not the well-known exchanges. It is the silent crypto bridges, software protocols connecting blockchains, now functioning as undetectable channels that enable the fast, unchecked transfer of wealth across the globe. This is not the work of a lone hacker. It is a vast, adaptive ecosystem built for speed, ambiguity, and resilience. Tonight, we reveal how infrastructure intended to foster digital collaboration has been co-opted into the world's most sophisticated criminal pipelines. The alarm always starts with raw data. In March, a notorious state-backed group launches a highly orchestrated cyber attack, draining nearly $600 million in cryptocurrency at once. Investigators race to trace the theft, watching as the funds scatter through public blockchains. But as they trace, the money fragments, moves between chains like Ethereum and Solana, and blends with thousands of other transactions by bouncing across crypto bridges. With each hop, origins blur, the assets reappear in new forms, and the path grows colder. Bridges, which are supposedly open, decentralized, and globally distributed, have no officers to raid, no executives to question. Moving vast sums now requires little more than a simple command to interact with software. That click sends capital seamlessly across jurisdictions, wiping out meaningful checkpoints and oversight. Zooming out, a deeper structure comes into focus. In 2022, more than $2 billion in digital assets moved through decentralized bridges after major exploits. Media headlines about sluggish authorities and cunning hackers barely touch the real issue. The structure itself is now central to crime. Bridges serve as vital passageways, not only for state hackers and ransomware, but also for sanctioned oligarchs and professional launderers. Every cross-chain transfer thins the link to legal authority. Compliance frameworks built for exchanges and banks are useless, since bridges simply sit outside every jurisdiction at once. What started as useful middleware for asset transfers now actively erodes the foundations of international financial enforcement. No institution can reliably enforce rules when the technology itself leverages code to evade any fixed oversight. The appeal is obvious for all involved. Traditional exchanges, despite flaws, require account verification and compliance screening. Bridges are pure code, indifferent to motive or user identity. Sending coins through a bridge is a permissionless action, and the system's creators often boast of protocols impossible for authorities to censor. Operators, sometimes anonymous, collect fees and avoid legal risk. Users, legitimate and otherwise, are drawn by speed and the absence of scrutiny. For criminals, this makes bridges the fastest, safest route to wash and conceal stolen assets. A single bridge crossing can atomize stolen funds across tokens and blockchains faster than any forensic team or regulator can respond. By the time officials track an endpoint wallet, the original capital is lost among countless new addresses and shielded swaps. The investigative challenge scales out of control. Law enforcement once followed sequential trails on a single blockchain. Now, each bridge crossing resets the trail, cloaking both user and funds. Technical complexity compounds the problem. Smart contracts, often unaudited and permanent, automatically move funds, generate new addresses, and lock assets behind cryptographic rules. No entity holds a master key or controls a help desk, even after a rare regulatory win, such as the US targeting the Tornado Cash mixing service. The protocols are cloned and redeployed in corners of the open source ecosystem, quickly mutating to elude blacklists. Takedowns become futile whack-a-mole exercises. Every action spawns new, harder-to-trace variants. Law moves slowly, but these structures move at the speed of code, thriving in the gaps between regulatory intent and technological possibility. History shows the pace of escalation. The Ronin bridge breach saw North Korea-linked hackers move nearly $600 million through well-planned bridge hops, defying every technical and political countermeasure. Shortly after, the Wormhole bridge exploit drained $320 million, exploiting flaws not previously viewed as systemic. These episodes reveal a layered criminal ecosystem, far beyond single hackers, comprising operators, intermediaries, developers of new exploits, and white hat hackers trading vulnerability disclosures for bounties. Investigators map these tactics after the fact, but often find only traces. By the time the chain of custody is reconstructed, funds are irrecoverable and reputational damage is done. National authorities, locked within borders and bureaucratic mandates, can only announce new crackdowns while technical risks multiply and new bridges continue to appear globally, unconstrained by any one country's laws. Crypto bridges, at their core, embody a contradiction. Designed for transparency and interoperability, their open nature doubles as the perfect vehicle for laundering, sanction evasion, and movement of proscribed capital. In private, officials admit their biggest threat is not the exchanges in the regulatory spotlight, but the explosion of bridges beyond Western reach. In just 18 months, sanctioned organisations routed at least $1.3 billion through these bridges, unfazed by blacklists or compliance rules that keep banks on edge. Industry promises and crackdowns fail because bridges, by design, cannot be centrally controlled or easily dismantled. The infrastructure is inherently resilient and invites repeat exploitation. This amplifies a global financial security threat. At scale, capital moves wherever it wants, powered by neutral code. The response from authorities is a race against time and technology. A major cross-border operation in early 2023, launched to disrupt a notorious bridge protocol, illustrates the uphill fight. There is no office to raid or server to seize, only open, distributed code and pseudonymous developers. Takedowns remove one copy, but the protocol reappears, cloned and remixed elsewhere, often in new, harder-to-track forms. Cybercrime investigators liken the effort to trying to cut water with a knife. Every failed crackdown demonstrates how bridges built to avoid single points of failure now serve as formidable shields for criminal actors. Regulators accustomed to traditional banking controls now must adapt. Old tactics, freezing accounts or demanding detailed audit trails, are no match for the decentralized anonymous bridge networks. Investigators sift through open source code and blockchain analytics, trying to isolate patterns or tags that could reveal illicit flows. Yet critical evidence dissolves in vast pools of mixed assets, where ordinary investors' funds combine with those of criminals. Sometimes a key clue is buried as a line of code or a subtle transaction flagged on an online forum. This blurring means even average users may unwittingly aid illicit movement. The risk is now systemic and collective. As the scale of decentralized financing grows, the results are stark. In 2023, illicit flows through crypto bridges surpassed all previous years, despite repeated reforms by major governments. Every enforcement action triggers fresh adaptation, sending criminal methods a step ahead of policy. Public trust in crypto erodes as each headline reveals another record-breaking hack or crime. Calls for new regulation increase, but every legal shift is still chasing yesterday's technology. Price shocks from major crypto crimes echo across markets, but are quickly subsumed as technology embeds itself deeper in daily commerce. Ultimately, enforcement plays perpetual catch-up, while the technical reality outpaces the slow machinery of laws and mandates, embedding bridges as a new shadow infrastructure. Yet this trajectory was never inevitable. Crypto bridges originated as tools for open, borderless commerce and technical collaboration, not as the backbone of global laundering. But in the absence of global rules, incentives, financial and reputational, turn bridges into vectors for crime and high risk. Finance, once nation-bound, is now routed by code that ignores borders entirely. Policymakers and investigators race to pass code releases and coordinate cross-border strategies. But syndicates, rogue states, and opportunists move faster, publishing new protocols and recruiting from a borderless talent pool. The bridges themselves remain neutral, oblivious to why or by whom they are used. As each new protocol joins the ecosystem, the scale and stakes grow. The case file is never fully closed. Every bridge is both a technical feat and a new, unresolved thread, one that the tools of oversight are always struggling to catch.